Hey guys, Ben here from Fortitude Performance. So what we're going to look at today is lifting for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and what your session structure should look like. Now, recapping, when we do lifting for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or grappling sports, there's a few reasons that we do it. That's to increase our performance on the mats, increase our recovery between sessions, and also to reduce our injury risk as much as we can. Now we're going to look at a case study today. We're going to look at Mr. X. Mr. X is a white belt. Whenever we look at implementing lifting, we want to be goal orientated. So for Mr. X, some of his goals are to increase his strength, increase his conditioning. He wants to decrease neck injuries and soreness. So in between sessions, he's finishing a session and he's getting a lot of stiffness and soreness in his neck, which is hindering his performance. And also he wants to increase his grip strength. When he's playing his spider guard, his De La Riva guard, he's finding his grips that are getting broken too easily, so he wants to increase his grip strength to help that. Okay, so Mr. X is able to lift 2 times per week, so we're going to look at an example structure template that he could use. When we start, we always want to start with our warm-up. So with our warm-up, we use a loaded carry. A loaded carry is an exercise. An example we're using is the farmer's walk. When we're doing a loaded carry, it's something that's going to increase our grip strength and also increase strength in our postural muscles and our posterior chain. Next up, once we've done our loaded carry, we want to do something to do with our core. Now, in Jiu-Jitsu, it's good to have a flexible spine, but we also want to have a stable spine. That's why understanding how to brace and strengthen the muscles around our spine is super important for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It's fine if we're flexible through our spine, but we also want to be able to support our spine through the muscles around it, hence why we implement the core work. Next part of our warm-up, we can use a grappling specific exercise. So Mr. X, one of his goals is to reduce neck injuries and the soreness he's getting. So one of the specific exercises we use is a neck drag. Now, over the coming months, I'm going to look up to build up a bit of an exercise library on our YouTube channel, so we'll have examples of these. But just what I want you to get from this first warm-up is that it's a whole body warm-up, and we've ticked off all the things that we need to, for Mr. X, all of the little goals that we have to be warm and ready to lift for the main part of the session. Moving on from there, we're using it, as we mentioned, we've got 2 days to lift, so we'll go session 1, session 2. It's out of the scope of this video, but if we can do like a Tuesday lifting session and a Thursday lifting session, just 1 day in between, that's usually good, but it doesn't matter too much if our schedule doesn't permit. If they have to be a bit closer, 1 day after the other, then that's fine. Session 1, now the sessions themselves, a really easy way to break it down is we want to have a strength part of the session, we want to have an accessories part of the session, and then we want to have a conditioning part of the session. For our strength part, we're going to superset them, so do one exercise, move to the next one, and then take a rest. The exercise that we've used, we want to use something that's a squat pattern. So that can be like a front squat, Zercher squat, or a back squat. We want to do a strong pulling movement, especially for Jiu-Jitsu. There's a real transfer to sport when we use something like a chin-up or a pull-up. Once we've covered our strength portion of the session, we move on to accessories. Accessories can be twofold. Muscles act as our armor when we're doing a combat sport. Obviously, we get to a point of diminishing returns, but also, if we don't have to be Mr. Arnold Schwarzenegger, but then again, we don't have to have no muscle at all. If someone puts a strong Kimura on you, and you've got no ability to resist that, and there's no muscles around the shoulder to resist that movement, then we could be looking to have a catastrophic injury that could have been avoided by looking to increase the muscle around joints, which increases the armour around joints. So, our accessories can play a really important role in increasing our muscle mass over time, or conversely, if for Jiu-Jitsu, we're in a very forward posture, everything's forward. Well, we want to start to do things that go the opposite direction. So if we're doing a lot of forward-based stuff, we want to still strengthen the muscles of the back. So you can see those accessories, they can go from being just something you're adding on at the end of the session to being really productive in increasing your performance, reducing your injury risk, and increasing your recovery between sessions. So now, we've done our strength part, we've done our accessories. So I don't make the video too long, for the accessories, we've just got some examples here. So our examples are, we could use a quadricep-based exercise or a pressing-based exercise. Also, in our second session, jumping ahead a little bit, you can see that we've used a posterior chain, so that's our hamstrings, glutes, up our lower back. We can use a posterior chain based exercise, or we can double up on the pulling exercises, our rows, our pull downs. Before I move on to the conditioning, that second session, the strength based stuff, just so we tick it off. We use a deadlift. So that can be conventional deadlift, sumo deadlift, pause and knee deadlift. Carries over a little bit between the two, trap bar deadlift. Any type of deadlift. The one that suits your body the most. And then we superset that with a bench. So a pressing move, a bench or an overhead press. Bench press again is one of those exercises that can carry over to our performance in Jiu-Jitsu. Obviously not just we're in side control and we're bench pressing someone off us, but more so it gives us the strength to be able to hold and frame and be strong in all positions. Now we've covered the strength and accessories part of session 1 and 2. Now we look at the conditioning. Now the conditioning, it's not conditioning that's designed to break you, it's conditioning that's designed to make you better. So that's a very important distinction to make when we're doing conditioning. It has to be short, sharp, and to the point. So we've got some examples here. Intervals, sometimes depending on the actual what we use. So if we use like a 20 and 10, that's called a Tabata interval. That's like a pretty hardcore interval to use. We can go all the way up to like having a longer rest, so 10 seconds on, 20 seconds off. So our conditioning, we can use intervals, we can use rounds. Now this is like a very fight specific thing. This will be for someone who has a competition coming up maybe. So say for Mr. X is a white belt, so 5-minute rounds. He could have 4 exercises. This is going back and forth through for 5 minutes in total to basically mimic the conditions that we see in a fight to the best of our ability. And then finally from there, we can use a circuit for our conditioning. The circuit can be grappling specific, so we could have exercises where we use the gi to do our pull-ups. We could have tire flips where we have to get down low to mimic the movements of a nice double leg or coming up into a double leg. These exercises, you have a lot more room to be a bit more creative in what you use. Alright, so just to recap and finish off. Mr. X, his goals were to increase his strength. Tick, we've got that ticked off in his session. Conditioning, we've done that. We've made sure we're increasing his conditioning. Where neck injuries and soreness, tick, we've covered that in the grappling specific warm-up. And increasing grip strength, we've covered that in the loaded carries and the deadlifts and the pull-ups. So we covered quite a bit there, guys. As always, if you've got any questions, let me know. And just remember, when we're adding lifting for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, we're always looking to increase performance. We're looking to increase recovery between sessions, and we're looking to reduce our injuries injury risk and stay on the mat for longer. Have a good day and speak to you soon.